Welcome back to another BJC past paper review. Today we're going to review a health science paper. We're going to review a paper 2, and this is from the year 2019. Again, before you start this examination, always remember, write your school number, write your candidate number, write your initials and your surname. Again, please remember, read through the instructions carefully and ask any question if you're in doubt. And please remember, do not open your booklet until you're told to do so. Also, follow the directives given by the examiner. Now, let's go into our first question. This question reads, the diagram shows the arrangement of the permanent teeth in the upper jaw. All right, so before we even go to the question, let's label these teeth. And so the first 4 here. All right, let's label those, and then you'll have this on the side after the first 4, and then the next 2. All right, and remember they are on either side of your mouth, just to make a note of that. And then you have these here. All right, so I'm going to label each of them, each set. All right, and let's do that real quickly. Let's just make this a little bit better. All right, great. Now these are the bottom here. Let's start from the bottom. They are called molar. And these next 2 here, they are called premolar. And remember, they are on either side. And then on top, they are called the incisor. Let's put it right here a little bit. All right, so incisor. And then we have the canine. All right, great. So those are the labeling, and please remember that these premolar, they're the same on the other side. The molar, the same thing. The canine, one on either side. All right, so great. Now let's go to our first question. And this says give one important function of teeth. And the main function of teeth, besides give you a nice smile, is to chew food. So to chew food. Or we can also state that they help to physically break down food. Okay. So I'm going to give a little bit of note right here. So they are also used to physically, or you can use the word mechanically as well. So they physically break down food. So they help with digesting of food by physical means. All right, so for part B, it said the table below shows information about the human milk teeth, which is the first set of teeth. And just to make a note that you have 20 of those. Okay, so there are 20 milk teeth. They also call the temporary teeth. It's a complete table by filling in the blank spaces. And first you have the incisor. It said number in the upper jaw and lower jaw. And so the number in upper and lower give you a total of 8. So you have again 4 on the lower and 4 on the upper. So a total of 8 there. All right, and let's go to the next one right here. Well, this is saying 4 upper and lower. So this will be the canine. And notice, please, this is a total number in the mouth, because they're talking about the upper and lower jaw. Okay, so you please pay attention to the questions and also the words that they use in the questions, so you do not make any mistakes. All right, so the purpose for canine teeth is pretty much to tear food. Okay, so this is to tear food. All right, especially when you're eating meat. Premolar, we also have 8 premolar. All right, and it's used to crushing and grinding of the food. And if you notice, 8 plus 4 is 12 plus 8 is 20. So we have 20 permanent temporary teeth or milk teeth. But I want to give you another set of teeth that is not found in the milk teeth, but is found in the permanent set of teeth. And so I'm going to type it right here at the bottom of the chart. And I was also going to put this in a different color, so you know this is not a part of the temporary teeth, but will be a part of the permanent. Just in case in the examination and you see this, you can also answer it, because they could ask you for the entire permanent teeth, right? So the next set will be the molar that we have on the chart, and the total number of molar would be 12, and the same function as premolar is to crush and grind food. Okay, so to crush and grind food. Okay, all right, so that will be the function of the molar. Just in case, again, molar is not a part of the milk teeth, they are part of the permanent set of teeth. All right, so let's go to the next question right here, and it's part C of this question. It says, state one reason why the set of teeth shown in the diagram must be permanent teeth rather than milk teeth. Again, if you notice, I go back to the diagram just to show you what is happening here. Notice we have the molar, right? So once the molar are there, then you know that it is a what? Permanent teeth. So there are two answers you could put here. One, because they show the full number of teeth, so we're going to put that there. So the diagram shows, okay, so it shows the, put this, change this color, matter of fact, to blue. All right, it shows the full number of teeth. Okay, that's very important. And the full number of teeth right here will be 16 on either jaw, so it'll be a total of 32 teeth. So here it shows you 16 in the upper jaw. Okay, also what you can have as another option here, that is showing you the molar. Okay, so the molar are present. Okay, so the molar teeth, they are present. So just to make a note of that. All right, there's a one mark question, so either one will work. For question part D, it said name the mineral added to drinking water which helps to prevent tooth decay, and this is fluoride. All right, so part E is to complete the paragraph by writing in the missing terms to describe the process of tooth decay. And so it reads now, bacteria feed on, and this will be sugar. All right, left in the mouth producing acid. And so once the bacteria feed on those sugar, you get acid produced in your mouth. And then which break down the tooth structure. And what is breaking down right here is the enamel will be broken down. And then what will be exposing eventually is the nerves. And the nerves, they will be inside of the dentin. That's a pulp area. All right, so this will be, the nerves will be exposed. And once the nerves are exposed, then you're going to have pain, because the teeth will become sensitive. All right, so question number 2 is a diagram below shows some of the bones and muscles in the human leg. All right, so we have some bones and muscles here. We can actually label these, but I'm going to point out something here with these muscles. They're not generally asked in your BJC examination, but just for information purposes, so you don't have to really remember them. All right, you need to know the bicep, the tricep, and those muscles, right? But just in case, just for information purpose. So this one right here in the front of the leg, it is called the rectus femoris. Okay, but again, you don't need to remember all of these muscles here. All right, just for information purpose, I'm writing them in. And the one at the back here is called the biceps femoris. Okay, so this is the biceps femoris. All right, and again, you do not need to remember these two muscles at all for your BJC exam. All right, and so let's go to this bone, which you need to know, and this bone is called the femur. You need to know this bone for sure. Okay. So please make sure you know this bone. And then this is a joint, and the type of joint that is found here is at the knee. It is a synovial joint, but specifically it is called hinge joint. So it's a type of hinge joint. Again, it is a synovial joint, which means that you'll find synovial fluid at that joint. And then the bone that is here, we have two bones that you need to know. And this bone is called the tibia. That is the biggest one in the leg there, tibia. And then there's one at the back here. The smaller one is called the fibula. So I'm going to actually label that for you as well. Okay. All right. So let's put a line there. And this is a smaller bone right here. So again, the things that you need to know for your examination, you need to know the fibula, the tibia. Okay. You need to know the hinge joint, the femur. All right. So again, fibula, tibia, hinge joint, and femur. Please make sure you know those in the leg. There's no need to know the muscles in the leg. All right, but just in case you need them, you need to know they work, and they work antagonistically, which means that when one is contracting, the other one is relaxing. That much you need to know. All right, so great. Now let's jump into the questions. And the first part of the question here is to write the names of the bones labeled P and R. Okay, so P and R, it is called let's go back here, the bone P, which is a femur, R is a tibia. So notice they even asked for these bones. Again, the muscles, those muscles, they're not generally asked. All right, so P again is a femur. All right, and R is the tibia. And remember, behind the tibia is a smaller bone called the fibula. Now for part B, it's when the leg bends backwards, what action is carried out by muscle X and muscle Y. So I'm going to show you something right here. So if the leg is going backwards, which means that you're bending the leg this way, going that direction, what is happening to muscle X and muscle Y? So if your leg is going down, muscle X, a matter of fact, will be going down, which means it's getting longer. And the word for that is relax. And while this one is going up, which means it's getting shorter, which means it contracts. All right, so let's now go into the answer of the question. Again, remember, X is going down, which is getting longer, which is relax. And then muscle Y is going up, which is getting shorter, which is contract. All right, so let's go into answering this. So muscle X here again relaxes, okay? And muscle Y contracts. And again, the term that used to describe this action is antagonistic muscles, because as one is contracting, the other one is relaxing. All right, so part C is to name the type of movable joint shown in Z. And again, it is a synovial joint, but specifically it's a hinge joint. Okay, this is hinge joint. All right, great. Now let's go to the next part of the question. And they say the diagram shows the three types of muscle tissues found in the human body. The first diagram here is saying that you have a skeletal muscle. So this is going to be important here. Skeletal muscle. We have a smooth muscle, and we have cardiac muscles. So please, what I want you to do is to notice how these diagrams are drawn and know them before you go into examination, because again, they may ask you to label rather than giving you the names. So please notice the arrangement of these muscles and be able to answer question where these are concerned. All right, so now go into the question part of this question. So which type of muscle shown in the diagram is found in the following structures? And in the leg, you will have skeletal muscles, okay? And easy to note because, again, the leg contains bone, all right, which means skeleton. And these muscles are connected to the bone structures, which assist in movement. So, again, skeletal muscle will be in your leg. And then in the digestive system, which means, like example, in the esophagus and the intestine and even the stomach, they work with muscles that are called smooth muscles. And a point to note is that skeletal muscles, they are voluntary muscles, right? Smooth muscles, they are involuntary muscles because you do not control them. All right, so these are then smooth muscles, or they are involuntary, okay? So these are smooth muscles, and smooth muscles are involuntary. All right, so let me put muscles right here as well. Don't need to because they already say muscles, but you know, if you need to write those. The heart, what muscle you find in the heart? Cardiac muscles, okay? And even the name will kind of give you the answer right there, because remember that is a cardiovascular system, which the heart belongs to, okay? All right, so the cardiac muscles. All right, so great. Now, it said part E, it said muscles can be either voluntary or involuntary. And it said, what is the difference between voluntary and involuntary muscles? And this is only for 1 mark. Again, the skeletal muscles, they are the muscles. For example, voluntary are the skeletal muscles, and you can control those. But the smooth muscles in the digestive system, they are involuntary, and you cannot control those. All right, the cardiac is also involuntary. Okay, so just to make a note, if you want to just make a note of this, that skeletal muscles, they are examples of what? Voluntary muscles. Smooth muscles and cardiac muscles, they are examples of involuntary muscles. All right, so let's talk about what are voluntary and involuntary right here. So voluntary muscles are muscles that you can control. All right, so if you want to walk, run, those are the muscles that you use, even for singing. All right, so voluntary muscles are muscles that you can control, while, because we're comparing them and making difference, while involuntary so they are muscles that you cannot control. All right, so great. So that's the difference between voluntary and involuntary, okay? All right, so part F of this question, it said, accidents in sports are some of the leading causes of skeletal injuries. So one example of such injuries is a fracture. What is a fracture? And a fracture is simply a break in a bone. Okay, so it's a break in a bone or off the bone, okay? All right, so once the bone is broken, is this described as a fracture. All right, for question number 3, and this is halfway through, it said diagram 1 shows the digestive system, and diagram 2 shows a structure found within one of the organ in this system. All right, and so we have some labeling right here. So this L is the esophagus. Let's put that in real quick. And M is the liver. Let's put it right here. So M is the liver. All right, and N, going to this small structure looking like a leaf, is the pancreas. Does the shape of it is look like a leaf? So it's a pancreas. All right, and then this structure on this side here is a villus. Villi will be the plural form of this word. So villus is singular. And again, villus or villi, they are finger-like projections that are found on the small intestine that are used for absorption of digested nutrients. And let's go to the question. It's a using diagram 1, name the structures labeled L, M, and N. And so L is the esophagus as we label. All right. And then we have M right here, which is the liver. And then we have N, which is the pancreas. All right, so great. So those are the 3 structures right there. Let's go to the next part of the question, part B. It said from diagram 1, which letter points to the structure where peristalsis takes place? And peristalsis is the wave-like movement of the structures to carry food through that structure. All right, and this is esophagus. All right, it also takes place in intestines, just to make a note of that. All right, but the only label right here, it is the esophagus. So this will be letter, and notice said letter, so that's one point I thought was again, it's a letter, so this is L. If you say name, you put the name, if you say letter, please look out for those key things. Like for example, part C1, it said name the structure shown in diagram 2. And so again, it is a villus. Diagram 2, it is a villus. Villi is plural. Okay, so 2 is a villus. Villi is plural. Please notice those things as well. Part 2 of C, it said, where in the digestive system would you find the structure named in C1? So where would you find villus? And villus can be found in the small intestine. So I'm going to make this even clear, on the walls of a small intestine. But generally, small intestine is good, but I'm going to say on the walls of the small intestine. But again, small intestine right here is good for this 1 mark answer. But we like to be very specific, all right? All right, so part 3 is a name the process which occurs in this structure. So in the villus, what takes place there is absorption of digested nutrients. So absorption will be sufficient for your answer. But if you want to expound on it, absorption of digested nutrients. All right, so great. So now you have that. Again, the word absorption alone is sufficient for this 1 mark answer. All right, but again, we'd like to be specific and give a little bit more information so you know when you go to explain, or if you should explain, you know what to do. Now, part D is that the process of digestion involves both mechanical and chemical digestion. What is mechanical digestion? And this is the process which I mentioned up top when I talk about teeth. And so this is the process. I said it's a process of breaking down food by physical means. Okay, so it must be a physical means, such as chewing and churning. Okay, so I'm going to point this out why I put chewing and churning, because I want to actually discuss something with you. Chewing will take place in the mouth. So in the mouth, you will have physical digestion taking place there. And churning will take place in the stomach. So churning will get the food mixed and be together and then split up in different pieces and so on. Such as chewing will break down the food into smaller pieces so the enzymes could work properly. Okay, so you can make a note of that. All right, so part E, it said, what are the following nutrients broken down into after digestion is completed? So what they're asking you right here is the end product of digestion of these substances or nutrients. And in other words, what is the last thing you'll get when these break down? So when proteins are broken down, you'll get amino acids. And when carbohydrates are broken down, you'll get sugar, which is glucose. All right, so that is the end of this question. Now let's jump into the next question. And this is question number 4. It said the diagram represents the circulatory system. And we have here, I want to kind of point out a few things just to make sure we are clear on these structures. They're kind of small in font size. But here we have the head, all right, and the 4 limbs. We have the lungs on either side right here. I'm going to kind of zoom into it so you kind of see it. And then we have the liver right here. And then we have the intestines. And then we have the kidneys. And then we have the hind leg and tail. So this hind leg and tail, this is not a human being. This is a mammal though, because the heart is a mammalian heart. Okay. So I just want to zoom into you and just show you a few things right here. So you'll see the head, all right, and the four limbs, the lungs there. And then I'm going to go up a little bit more. You'll see the liver, intestine, kidneys, hind legs, and tail. Okay. All right. So what I also want to do right here is kind of label these structures X, all right, W, and Y. So I'm going to label all three of them. All right. We know aorta is an artery, so that's something you need to know. And the vena cava is a vein. So W is pointing to the heart. Okay. So this is the heart. And it's pointing to a specific chamber, if you have noticed that. And if you put your right hand up, this will be the left side. So right will be the left ventricle. But I'm also saying the structure is the heart. And then going to the kidney, coming from the aorta, this will be renal. Once you say kidney, going to be renal. But what it is, it's going to be renal artery. Because remember, coming from the aorta, it is an artery. Okay, just to make a note of that. And then going from the intestine, going to the liver, that will be a vein, but that vein is called the hepatic portal vein. Okay, so it's hepatic portal vein. Okay, all right, so just to make a note of that. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go zoom in back into this diagram, and so we can be able to answer our questions effectively. Let's go back into it, and this should be okay for us. Yes. All right. Go a little bit more just to make it nicer. Okay, awesome. There should be perfect. All right, so now we're going to jump into the questions now and answer them as best as we possibly can. All right, so the first part of the question here said, name the blood vessel label X and Y, and say what type of blood is found in each blood vessel. All right, and so they want us to label X and Y. So X is the renal artery. All right, so that's again the renal artery. Let's put it right here. All right, so renal artery. And Y is the hepatic portal vein. And remember, the hepatic portal vein is what connects the intestine to the liver. Okay. All right, and so it's what type of blood is found in the renal artery. Generally in arteries, except the pulmonary artery, you find oxygenated blood. So this will be oxygenated blood. All right. And what type of blood is found in the hepatic portal vein? And again, is a vein, so it contains deoxygenated blood. Okay. And remember, the only vein that carry oxygenated blood is the pulmonary vein. All right, so great. So those are the type of blood in these two blood vessels. All right, so let's go to the next part of the question here. It said, organ W is a major component of the circulatory system. Name this organ and state its main function in the circulatory of blood, all right, or in the circulatory system. So this organ here is W, which is the heart, and in the circulatory system, the main function of it is simply to pump blood. Okay, so here it is the heart, and the main function of the heart here is to pump blood. Okay, and it's pump blood around the body, to pump blood around the body. All right, so great. Part C. And part C said describe two structural differences between the aorta and the vena cava. Again, aorta is the largest artery in the body, and the vena cava is the largest vein. So we're going to compare now the difference between artery and vein. So just bear it in mind. But I'm going to kind of do it like this, kind of make it easy. I'm going to give you more than two structural differences. So I'm going to put a line through here. You don't have to, but this is kind of making it a little bit easier to see the differences. And on this side, I'm going to put here is the aorta. And on this side, I'm put the vein. This does make life a little bit easier in terms of showing the differences. And so I'm going to, you can actually renumber them if you want. But if you don't want, you can just go across and say, okay, this is that while that is that. But again, when you're looking at differences, please compare the same features, okay? All right, so for example, I'm going to say that the aorta, all right, has a thicker muscular wall, okay? So it has thicker muscular walls, okay? All right, I'll put it here, muscular walls. That would be my first difference. And so on the vein side now, they must have thinner muscular wall, okay? So veins now, they have thinner muscular wall. All right, so that's a difference. Again, with comparing the walls. So once you're comparing the walls, stick with that. And then another difference right here. Let me put this in different colors so those make it a little bit easier to see. And so here now, aorta, which is an artery, they have narrow lumen, and lumen is the space in the blood vessel, all right, or the opening in the blood vessel. All right, and so the veins now, they have wider lumen, okay? Another difference that I'm going to point out right here again, so I'm going to give you a 3, they asked for 2, I'm going to give you 3, I'm going to give you 1 more, let's put this in blue. All right, and so another difference here, that aorta, right, has no valve, okay? No valve in the aorta. But the vein here, I'm going to change this to vena cava. I realize I have vein there, so I'm put vena cava right there. All right, I know vein is in my mind. All right, so here now, the vena cava has valve, just to make a note right there, okay? So here now I'm going to change this to vena cava. All right, so I'm change this to vena cava. All right, so vena cava is a vein and aorta is an artery, okay? So once you're doing this, if you're going to use the aorta and vena cava, let's say you see them in exam, just consider the aorta as an artery or the vena cava is a vein. So in the next exam, they may ask you to list the differences between an artery and a vein. And so these will still be the same answers, okay? All right, so great. Now moving on to the next part of this question, which is part D. It said here, name the main substance which diffuses out of the lungs into the blood and is transported around the body. So what the blood will pick up from the lungs is oxygen. And so the blood will give the lungs carbon dioxide and take in oxygen instead. So once oxygen is coming in and carbon dioxide is going out, we call a process gaseous exchange. And this takes place in the alveoli. All right, so part 2 of D, which is the last part of this question, is to name the process taking place in the body which uses the substance name in D1. So which process uses oxygen? And this process is called respiration. All right, and respiration is where you produce energy. So I'm going to put this in bracket right here. Again, just in case you need it, is the production of energy. Okay. All right, so great. All right, so we're finished with that question. Let's go to the next question right here. And this is, let me just get a little bit more zoom into this so we can see the entire thing. This is question number 5. And we have one more question to go. And so this one said the diagram represents a section through the human eye. And so let's quickly label this. And here is the retina here. All right, S is the lens. All right, let me label it on this side just for space purpose. All right, so S is the lens and R is the cornea. And Q will be the iris. So I'm going to leave it right here. All right, so great. So These are the structures shown. All right, and remember in this space right here, after the cornea, you have the aqueous humor, and then the space between the iris is the pupil, and then the lens is connected to what they call a suspensory ligament, and then you have a ciliary muscle, and then this big space right here is called the vitreous humor. All right, I could just actually label that for you since you have a space there. Okay. And so this vitreous humor, let's go back there. Yes. All right. The vitreous humor is the name right here. All right, great. And then this structure right here is called the optic nerves. So it's the optic nerve. All right, great. And then the little space right here is called the blind spot. And then we have the sclera on the outside, or the sclerotic coat. All right, so you just need to know the different parts of the human eye, and you might more likely might see it. So please just bear it in mind. And the access to name the parts label Q, R, and S. So again, Q is the iris, and R is the cornea, while S is the lens. All right, so great there. And then now let's jump to the part B of this question. It said the structure labeled T on the diagram contains two types of light-sensitive cells. And so that part labeled T is the retina. So the retina contains two light-sensitive cells. So give the name of structure T and name one type of light-sensitive cell it contains. And so again, T is the retina. The retina contains two light-sensitive cells. One is called the rods. I'm going to just give you both of them, matter of fact. So rods is one, and they also have cones. But again, they only ask you for one. But I'm giving you both of them, so just in case you may need them. All right? Great. Now, matter of fact, I'm highlighting this. So when you're reviewing this paper, you know that they only ask for one, but I'm giving you two. I'm giving you both of them for your purpose, for studying. And so just in case you go in the exam, they may ask for both of them, you need to know. Now, part C, it says on the diagram, draw a line to the part of the eye which connects it to the brain and name it. So here now, let's talk about this that connects to the brain. And so again, we already label it. So this is called the optic nerve. All right, so I'm going to put a line right there. That's the optic nerve, okay? All right, so great. So optic nerve is that part. All right, so let's go now to the next part question. Matter of fact, let me just put optic nerve right here. So that part is named optic nerve. All right, so great. It's identify the stimulus which the eye detects, and the eye detects light. Okay, so the light is the stimulus. Part E is the lenses are used to correct eye defects. It's a name the type of lens shown below and identify the eye defect it is used to correct. And so this here is a concave lens, otherwise called a diverging lens. So this is a concave, and a concave lens is also called diverging lens. Okay, there's a concave or diverging lens, just to make a note there, because what it does is it spread light rays out. So if you consider light rays going through this, the one that go in the middle will go straight like that, and then the others will then refract and diverge. Okay, just to make a note, that's why it's called a diverging lens. They kind of spread out the light rays. Okay, all right, just to make a note of that. All right, matter of fact, let me take off this bottom line. Not so looking so perfect. It should be like a top one. All right, so I'm gonna just make it a little better than that. So you go in straight, and then when it reaches there, you're gonna go down. Okay, all right, great. So that's now the diverging light rays. They're spreading out. The eye defects that is being corrected using this type of lens, it is short-sightedness, all right, otherwise called myopia. So this is short-sightedness. And short-sightedness is also called myopia. So just in case you know, you need to know that. All right, myopia. All right, so great. Now for part F, it's a conjunctivitis is a contagious disease which affects which labeled eye structure. So the labeled eye structure will be affected by this. Let me see right here. Okay, it will be R, which is the cornea. But I'm going to point out something here, since they say which labeled structure. It will have effect on the cornea. So I'm put structure R here. So which labeled, so affects which labeled eye structure. And so it is R, which is the cornea. But I'm gonna make something clear right here. Okay. The first part to be affected by conjunctivitis is the conjunctiva. The conjunctiva is that layer above or on the cornea. Okay, so as the first part will be affected. Then once it becomes irritated and affected, then it also going to affect the cornea as well, right? Just to make a note of that. So let me tell you what conjunctivitis is. All right, let me quickly do that before I move on to the next question. So conjunctivitis. All right, this is inflammation of the cornea, of the conjunctiva. So it is inflammation of the conjunctiva. So notice the name conjunctivitis affect the conjunctiva, but the conjunctiva is not shown on this paper. So again, it will also affect the cornea. All right, so that's it for that. All right, and so this question is the last part of this question. So again, this part here is just for general information that conjunctivitis is the inflammation of the conjunctiva. All right, but the conjunctiva will be over the cornea. So definitely once the conjunctiva is affected, also affect the cornea as well. All right, so part 6, question number 6, and this is the last question for this paper. And this one said the graph shows 6 diseases which accounts for the leading cause of death in the Bahamas in 2014. It says use the graph to help you answer the questions which follow. And so the graph title saying that leading cause of death in the Bahamas in 2014, rate per 100,000 population. All right, and so let's go into them. All right, so heart disease, which is 135.3, the number is right here, 135.3. AIDS is 27.1, and cancer, it is 102.2. External causes, and external causes below the chart right here include accidents, violence, and poisoning, and this is 67.2. Diabetes is 29.5, and stroke is 38.3. All right, so let's go to the question now and answer them. So the first part of the question, right, is name the disease which accounts for the leading cause of death. And if we go back to the chart, the leading cause of death right here will be heart diseases. Okay, so heart disease is the leading cause of death. All right, so let's step that in. All right, so heart disease. Is in 2014, how many more persons died from cancer than stroke? And so let's go to the number for cancer and stroke. So we have 102.2 for cancer right here. So 102.2. So just notice that number there. All right. And then for stroke, it is 38.3. So we're going to find a difference between 102.2 and 38.3. So all you need to do is minus those two numbers. And so here we're going to say 102.2 minus 38.3, and this will give us 63.9. Okay, that's the difference between the numbers there. All right, so for part B, is that from the graph, identify the disease which is most likely to be caused from each of the following. And here's a excess sugar in the blood, and that definitely diabetes. So this will be diabetes right here. And then fatty deposit on the walls of the arteries. And so once you have fatty deposit on the heart, on the walls of the arteries, this will block your arteries and then affect your heart. So this is definitely heart disease. And then it's having sex with an infected person. This is AIDS. So I'll put AIDS right here. All right, so great. And then now go to the next part of the question here. It's a lack of continuous supply of oxygen to the brain, and this is stroke. So let's go back to the graph. Yes, so that will be stroke. So strokes will be the answer right here. This is a stroke. So once oxygen is not going to the brain, it will affect the brain, and part of the brain may stop work. And so it may also affect part of the body, which are unable to move parts of the body. All right, so here now part C says AIDS is described as a sexually transmitted disease. It says what do AIDS stands for? And AIDS represent A is acquired. So this is acquired. And the I is immunodeficiency. So ID is immunodeficiency. Okay. So acquired immunodeficiency. And the S is syndrome. Okay, so it's acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. It's a named organism which causes this disease, and this is caused by HIV. And what HIV mean is human. All right, so I'm gonna give you this the word for it. All right, so this name of this is actually human. So the name of the virus is human immunodeficiency virus. All right, so that's the name of the virus, is human immunodeficiency virus. And then the last part of the question is to suggest 2 ways, all right, 2 ways Bahamians can develop a healthy lifestyle. And there are so many different things that a person can do. One of them is to exercise. So if we exercise more, then definitely you'll be more healthy. And beside exercise, what you can do is to have a healthy diet, right? So healthy dieting. So healthy diet. And in healthy diet, you can make sure you eat things like your vegetables, your grains, your oatmeal, and so on. So you want to eat healthy, have a healthy diet. All right. And when we talk about healthy lifestyle, remember that if you think about the definition of our health, right, you need to have is a whole mental, physical, right? So once the mental and the physical and your social well-being are good, then you're considered healthy. So even your mindset is important when you think about health. So they need to think positive as well. Think positive, exercise more, eating healthy. Those are things that will make you a healthy person, right? So think about the definition for health. All right, so here we end this review. So again, good luck on the examination. Do well and come back for more reviews. Keep safe until then.